Alrighty, how you doing? The tale of the knife. This thing here. I'm going to talk about this because it's an interesting story. I think it kind of demonstrates and supports my whole knife thing. For those of you that don't understand, and there's a lot of you that know me going back way back, and you never really knew that I had this going on. This is the Jet-Aero G96 Dagger boot knife from like the 1970s. When I was a kid in the 70s, I think I was like 10 or 11, I think I was in Cub Scouts. And my dad brought me to a place where you buy the uniforms, right? And I saw this knife and I wanted it, and he bought it for me. And this is a knife that no 10 or 11-year-old has any business owning, because there's no real purpose for it other than self-defense and killing somebody. That's the only purpose. But it was just such a cool thing to own. And I really wanted it. And I got it. And that was cool. But it's not like I carried it around with me or anything like that, you know. And then when I was a junior in high school, I had it. And I broke up with this girl. I used to have all these parties at my house. I lived alone since I was 14. That's a whole other story. But I had broken up with this girl, and I was real distraught over it. And I think I was like hitting a wall or something. I had a party. And these older guys, I told you I was a junior, and these older guys already in college, I didn't even know most of them, used to come and party at my pad. It's the Jersey Shore, it's winter time, it's cold outside, it's a place for them to hang. They would bring their own beer, they drink my beer, whatever. They're pretty nice guys for the most part, but being Jersey, you know, you get picked on and that sort of thing. And I was not a big kid. And this one guy took the knife, because under the guise of he thought I was going to hurt myself with it. And every time I saw him, where's my knife, man? When am I getting my knife back? He always blew me off because I was like some little punk kid to him. Well, later in life, that guy tried to become a New York City cop. He watched out of the academy there. And then he became a cop, a Dover cop, I think it was. And he ended up with the best gig ever, actually. Because the way the townships work there, you got the mainland, and you got a bay, and you got the barrier islands. Well, the township border crosses over the bay and onto the barrier island. So you have this weird strip of land on a barrier island that for them to patrol it, like the police headquarters, I don't know what the hell it's called, is all the way on the mainland. They got to drive through several other towns to get through Tom's River, to drive over Route 37 to then go back down there to patrol that little area and then go back. He ended up having a house in Seaside Park on the bay and living there and patrolling every day. And that was his job for, I think he did this for over 20 years, and then he retired. The easiest gig in the world. But it's funny. We're cool now. Like, we're actually pals, and we'll have these long conversations. We talk on the phone and whatnot. But there was a moment one time with him, I remember. It was in the 90s. I went home. I think it was one of the first times I went home. It's probably around 96 or something. 97, somewhere in there. 98 maybe. And I had left. I remember I left for like maybe 5 years. Nobody knew what happened to me. I didn't tell anybody where I was going. I kind of had to disappear myself, I felt like, because there was some weird stuff going on. And I came home, and I went to the sawmill. You guys might know it. And I'm sitting there having a beer with a friend, and a fight breaks out. And they will always make you go outside. And they get out on the boardwalk, big circle around, and boom, boom, boom. Guy's face explodes, blood everywhere. 3 fights in less than a couple hours. At the sawmill that day, which was normal. That's how it is there. You know, you're always fighting or something, or there's a fight around, or you got to navigate walking through fights just to get to where you're going. It's an insane place. Used to be. So this guy walks in with a bunch of his cop buddies, sees me, and taps me in my forehead with the palm of his hand, like he's some kind of tough guy. I'm not this high school kid anymore. I'm a man. And I looked at him. As soon as I gave him this look, he was already knew he had done the wrong thing. And I don't remember exactly what I said to him, but I know I ended it with, "They will find your body washed up on the beach." And even before I could get that out at the end, he was already like trying to apologize and insisting on buying me beer and everything else. And of course I let him do that. And then in like the 2000s, I would go back from time to time, and we had mutual friends that I'm really tight with, and I consider some of my favorite people. And so he and I just, everything was cool, man. Everything was cool. And every once in a while I would still bring this up. And then lo and behold, a couple of years ago, he sent me this in the mail. He still had it. So it is the Jet-Aero, Jet-Aero. You might be able to read this. I don't know what you can see. I'm just looking into a lens here. But on the back of this clip here, it does say G96, Jet-Aero Corporation, Paterson, New Jersey, made in Japan, 7003 on the sheath. It's a pretty decent sheath. Now this was in mint condition when I owned it, but he actually used this on the job. The clip, little fastener here, retention strap, has a metal strap on it with a rivet going through it. That's a very nice detail. You won't see that in most sheaths, Dagger sheaths. That is a nice detail. And I could tell you that that's a brass snap because you can see that the nickel plating on it has worn off a bit. So on this side here it says G96. It's got the numbers on it, made in Japan. And on this side here it says Jet-Aero Corp, Paterson, New Jersey, which is right where it was purchased. And I'm showing this to you because I have not seen another video on this knife anywhere. I've seen a couple of these examples on eBay, sold a while ago. Everything's tight on it. It's a tiny knife. It's designed to be concealable. It's designed as a boot knife, right? It makes sense. So, you know, your hand position on this thing, right? You want to be able to manipulate this thing. Do saber cuts and that sort of thing. But I put a little edge on it because it was a little beat up. It's a composite handle. There's a rivet going through the pommel here. It makes me think that that's a full tang going all the way to there with an aluminum cap on it. It's got a decent balance to it. I've never really thrown this thing. I never abused it. I never did anything with it. I don't think I ever even carried it around. All the age on this is from that guy who owned it, who was a cop. He probably carried it, you know, on duty. So, anyhow, the G96 Aero, Paterson, New Jersey. I think I'll take the phone off there and I'll give you some tighter shots of it not moving around. You guys will get a kick out of this. I mean, I hope you do. If you're in knives, you're watching it right now for a reason, right? I'm looking at it now. Something I never noticed before is on one side you have a bit of a finger shape and on the other side it's flatter. So I guess it's intended to be held in this manner right here. Boom, boom, boom. And that does feel more comfortable. Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. And there's no false edge. It is sharp on both sides here. So I'll lay this down. Actually, I'll do it next to a tape measure for you, and you guys can see what that's all about. It's a well-made knife. So there you have it. It's approximately a 5-inch blade. About 9 inches overall. It's a small handle, 4-inch handle. About what you'd expect from a boot knife, Dagger. Again, imagine a 10 or 11-year-old kid with this. I mean, I wasn't walking around the streets of Paterson with it. If you've heard some of my stories in the past, I probably should have been. Nice grind on there. Everything fits tight. It's a well-made blade. There we go. It's hard to get that. That's better. Yeah, and again on the sheath, it is hard to make this out. It was a little corroded here. I cleaned it up a bit. Like I said, I put an edge on it. But I did want to point that detail out on the strap there. That's something that if you're going to make a knife sheath, you might want to consider adding that detail. It makes all the difference. Also, I got to put some Neats oil on this. It's in good shape now, and it is pretty old. I'm surprised it's held up so well. But you will see this will be ripped off after a while. If you buy a new knife, apply some Neats oil to at least this part of it, just to keep it moisturized. You know. Anyhow, that's it, man. Have a good day. Be good to each other, right? Until it's time to not be good, and then be very not good. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.